There's something creepy about churches. Places of worship they might be, but many churches are often more haunted than castles and mansions. Whatever causes paranormal activity in these churches, they produce some of the best paranormal activity to be found anywhere. In this video we count down 5 haunted churches from around the world. Pluckley is known as the most haunted village in England. This picturesque village is certainly steeped in ghost stories. Its reputation as a ghost village is not without its problems, and the village can be a magnet to thrill seekers and also those with a genuine interest in the paranormal, especially around Halloween. While this may be a bonus to local businesses, it does not come without its own pressures, and there has been an increased police presence in the village around Halloween due to the sheer number of visitors. Lady Daring haunts the grounds of the Church of St. Nicholas. She was supposedly buried in 7 lead coffins and placed in the church's crypt. The name may come from the rose placed in the coffin with her. She is said to wander the churchyard in search of the unmarked grave of her stillborn child. St. Nicholas's church apparently has another ghostly lady that may haunt the inside of the church, as well as the Daring family house library in their manor, which was destroyed in a fire around 1952. The manor house also served as a boys' school before burning down. A Mr. Walton Winnan supposedly held a lonesome vigil one Christmas Eve in the library with his hunting rifle. When the White Lady appeared before him, he reputedly shot her. The shot passed through the apparition. She vanished through a panelled wall which might have led to a tunnel which was supposed to link the house with the church. The witness may have been Walter Winans, an American-born British marksman and sculptor who competed in the 1908 Olympics, winning a gold medal for shooting, and a silver in 1912. The bell tower of St. Mark's Episcopal Church is reportedly haunted by a stonemason who fell to his death while constructing it. The legend claims that 2 Swedish immigrants who were skilled stoneworkers were hired to construct a bell tower on the church, and one day when the tower was about halfway completed, both men failed to come back to work. The unfinished tower was capped off with a roof and used as a study for a time. However, the pastor who used it reportedly complained of banging noises coming from the walls, and it went unused for a time. Years later, construction on the bell tower resumed. Those workers were apparently bothered by strange noises, banging sounds and whispered voices, and many refused to work on the tower after having a chilling experience. Someone apparently came up with the idea of building the ghost its own room in an attempt to please it, and apparently this allowed the workers to return to their task with some peace of mind. In 1979, the bell tower was open for public tours, which was very popular around Halloween. A few years later, a popular Denver psychic and a DJ from a radio station tried to spend Halloween night broadcasting from the tower. As the psychic climbed the stairway, she was overcome by dreadful feelings, as she sensed the presence of a frightening, upset apparition. She also sensed a second spirit, an elderly white-haired man who walked with a cane. He was later identified as Father Rafter. After the psychic and the DJ had set up in the tower room, Father Todd locked all of the doors and left. Looking out the window, they saw little balls of white light dancing around the church gravestones in the cemetery below. A slimy substance began to ooze from the room's baseboards. All at once, the bells began to ring all by themselves. Over the loud bell ringing, a rough man's voice shouted at them, "Get out while you still have your mind." The DJ called for help. Within 15 minutes, all made a hasty exit from the bell tower, escorted out by Father Todd and the radio manager. Years later, it's claimed that one of the original stonemasons returned to the church and told the pastor that his fellow worker had slipped and fallen to his death. Fearing that a police investigation would lead to him being deported, he had sealed up the body in an unfinished section of the wall and simply walked away. There's a pleasant circular walk around Clop Hill, but what is most interesting in this old English village is the abandoned church. St. Mary the Virgin, built around 1350 just outside the main settlement. There's a few odd things about this ancient little church, the most significant being that it was supposedly built facing the wrong direction. Churches are traditionally orientated to face east, the direction from which the sun rises, which in the Christian religion is associated with the location of heaven and the return of the Messiah. Churches are positioned with the altar facing east so people will pray in that holy direction. Some have claimed that because St. Mary the Virgin faces away from God, it thus opens its door to hell. The church has a long history of reported hauntings and supposed satanic rituals. In 1963, the Church of St. Mary the Virgin grabbed headlines across the nation when it was reported that a black mass had been held in a church by local Satanists. Specifically, it was written that the graves of 6 women were dug up in order to perform necromancy, with one skeleton being left behind inside the church itself. Shockingly, the acts at Clophill followed a string of strange occurrences in Bedfordshire and Luton. In April 1963, a 12-year-old boy found evidence that several area cows had been decapitated, while a former forestry student admitted to the press that he and a few friends had killed a cockerel and sprinkled its blood inside St. Mary's in 1961. Another unusual feature of the ruined church is that nearly all of the gravestones sit against the wall of the graveyard, due to the area being cleared of gravestones in the 1970s after an incident of graveyard desecration. It makes for a very unusual and spooky setting. The church was abandoned after a replacement church was built in a more convenient location in the town in the 19th century. As the building began to fall apart, it took funds from English Heritage to save the church, which stands proudly looking down on the village it once served. Most Holy Trinity Church is housed in an 1880s building. Its school building was built atop a former cemetery, and is rumoured to be haunted by some of the people whose bodies weren't moved before the construction. Lights go on and off in the school gym, voices come from seemingly nowhere, and witnesses have heard the sounds of people walking back and forth in the school. The church has a lot of stories and legends. There are mysterious passageways on the triforium level of the church where it is said that only priests are able to enter. The church property covers an entire city block. It's said that there are false closets leading to tunnels throughout the church and convent. Mysterious sub-basements and bricked-up doorways suggest concealed passageways. It's said that runaway slaves from the south used these areas to hide when escaping to the north in the Underground Railroad. The church's second pastor built the church's rectory in 1872. He died in the building while sleeping in his second-floor room in 1895. The same room is used as a guest room by the priests who live in the building today. No one wishes to take up permanent residence in the room in which the priest died. Guests have claimed to have heard strange noises and the sounds of someone walking back and forth while staying in the room. It's said that loud footsteps can be heard up and down the 4 floors of the rectory stairs at late hours of the night. Allegedly, it always feels like other people are in the building, even when someone is alone there. Dogs who were once kept as pets in the rectory had been known to stare as if in trances at the stairs leading to the basement, and into the dining room where it was very cold in the house. George Stales, a parish sexton and bell ringer, was murdered in the vestibule of the church in August of 1897. While there was a prime suspect in the crime, no one was ever convicted of the murder. The blood of Mr. Stales as well as the bloody handprint of the murderer are said to still be on the wall in a stairway leading to the bell tower. It's said that the spirit of Mr. Stales roams the building and will do until the crime is solved. The name of Mr. Stales appears in a stained glass window he had donated to the church 12 years before his murder. The bells to the church are said to ring sometimes without explanation. It's believed that the ghost of Mr. Stales rings the bells so that people won't forget him. Christchurch Greyfriars was an Anglican church located on Newgate Street, opposite St. Paul's Cathedral. Today only the spire remains. During the Victorian times, this church was known as one of the most haunted buildings in London. Within the burial grounds lie the mortal remains of the she-wolf of France, Queen Isabella, wife of the English King Edward II. With her lover Roger Mortimer, she instigated the deposing of the king, and had him imprisoned at Berkeley Castle. On the night of the 11th of October 1327, while lying in bed, the king was suddenly seized. A great mattress weighed him down and suffocated him. A plumber's iron was introduced through a tube into his anus so that it burned the inner portions beyond the intestines. His screams could be heard far outside the castle walls, and are still heard at Berkeley Castle on the anniversary of the horrific event. Following Mortimer's execution by the king's son Edward III in 1330, Isabella retreated into retirement. She died in 1358, her last years having been racked by violent dementia. She was buried here at Greyfriars, with the heart of Edward II placed upon her breast. At twilight, her beautiful angry ghost flits among the trees and bushes, clutching the beating heart of her murdered husband before her. Lady Alice Hungerford was considered a great beauty of the Tudor age, and she too murdered her spouse, in her case with a lethal dose of poison. In 1523 she paid for her crime by being boiled alive. She was laid to rest at Greyfriars, where her beautiful apparition was seen drifting through the aisles of the monastery, and following its dissolution through the burial grounds that sprung up on its site. So that was 5 haunted churches. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more countdown videos.